أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. First of all, I apologize that today Professor Dr. Jafar Al-Sharab, he had to deliver the lecture, but he is indisposed, he is not feeling well. That is why he has not been able to come here. And I'm just here to fill in the blank. So you will not get the same quality as you were expecting from the doctor, or you would expect it from Allama Yusuf Habib, because Allama Yusuf Habib objected that don't call me doctor, because he doesn't like that foreign honorification. So I have now swayed over to Allama. So so you will not get that quality, but still I'll try my best to fill in the blank, that is time. I'll try to fill in the time. Today in the Fajr Salat also, you heard the recitation and it referred to the nafs, that how the nafs gives the options, how the nafs works through waswasa. The ayat said that the nafs works through waswasa. That is the functioning of the nafs. But what is nafs itself? We have been discussing with reference to Hidaayat, that why we are not getting Hidaayat, why we are failing to get Hidaayat, what is the problem? And one of the important factors is that we are failing so far as the operation of our own nafs is concerned. But in order to reach the pathology of the disease, the problem, actual problem, what is the problem? We have to understand what the nafs is. Then only we'll be able to understand it. And the Quran has used word nafs not in one sense. There are many different meanings. It's scores of meanings, not just one meaning. But usually you have seen that it has been translated as soul, self, usually soul, self, that it has many more meanings. And then how it works through waswasa, giving options, many options. With reference to Hidayat, we had discussed certain aspects of nafs. I will just point out to those aspects. This is general discussion on different aspects of nafs, not all, that I'll point out just a few of them, that what is nafs. It works with the qalb and it works with the sadr. Now, nafs as self, then nafs as person or persona, but these have different, subtle, different meanings. And nafs as psyche, the psyche of a person, nafs as psyche, and then nafs as a living being, that any living being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I created Zakar wa Unsa, male and female, from just one living being, nafs. And that is female, which has been used there, from one female nafs. Nafs as a living being, and then nafs as breathing, something which is breathing. It refers to breathing that is occurring, or the driving agent. Nafs is the driving agent for the physical functioning of life, physical functioning. And then nafs as the aspiring agent. There is a difference between the driving agent and the aspiring agent. And I have pointed out the ayat also, where it means aspiring agent or it means as a driving agent, but it's up to you. You can look into other meanings also. nafs as stimulating or kicking agent like spur or whip, causing spree. When you want the horse to run fast, then you hit the horse with the spur in your knee, and then the horse starts running. It takes a jump and it starts running. The nafs is, particularly when the word shuh is used, the shuhan nafs, when the word nafs works with shuh, from shuh there are many other derivatives, that when it gives the kick, and that kick may develop into a spree. Then when it resides in the lust center of lust in the brain, there is a separate center of lust in the brain. When it affects that center of the brain, that the lust, there, then the one of the features of the lust center is that once it starts enjoying, then it will create a spree to visit and revisit again and again. The lust attracts so much, it brings back and back again, that you do it again, you try it again, you involve in yourself in it again. That is one of the features of the lust center in the brain. So then once it gives a kick, and if the kick is accepted and one enjoys the lust, then it may develop into a spree, like a spending spree. Once one starts enjoying spending, then it will become a spree. And then there are other aspects also collectively. At many places, word nafs has been used as a plural as nufus, but as anfus has been used as anfusakum, for example, anfusahum. So what is the difference between anfus and nafs? And when we say anfusahum, anfusakum in plural, so then what is the difference between anfusakum, anfusahum and nufusakum? Nufusakum and anfusakum, there's a difference. But we don't differentiate from the translation, and we fight on translations. People bring the translation and they fight on that so-and-so imam, so-and-so person, he translated it like this, and they fight on that. But I'm just inviting your attention that wherever this terminology is occurring in this way, then kindly look into the ayat itself in the context. Then look into the group of ayat around it, either before or after, and then look into the ruku, look into the surah, look into the whole context of Quran, whole philosophy of Quran. These things we'll discuss in detail, but today, since we are filling in the blank, I'm just giving an overview. But when it is working collectively, it refers to the collective thinking. What is the collective thinking of a people, of a qawm? If it is a qawm, what is qawm? Qawm is that group of people who stand united for a cause, for one cause. If they don't stand for a cause, they are not a nation. This is the simplest definition according to Quran. Qawm Musa, they stood for one purpose. But today, unfortunately, we are discussing the word qawm from Quran, and we are giving the definition which developed during the 20th century. That nation is defined through certain features: territory, which means geography, language, race, and these were the ideas which developed in Europe in the 20th century particularly. And we try to explain Quran in the light of the terminology, which is in fact the developed terminology of English today, without understanding that what it means in the original context of Quran. So the simplest one is that when we refer to the collective thinking of a qawm, then the simplest thing is that if they stand for a cause, and we are discussing Quran. So definitely we'll have to see that within the definition of Quran. We are discussing through Quran, therefore, those who stand for the purpose of Quran. It is different from Ummah. There is one thing very interesting to understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran that on the day of judgment, there will be a petition filed before me, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet will file the petition against his own Qawm. Qawm. Word Qawm has been used, not Ummah. Who are the Qawm against whom the Prophet will file a petition? Who were his Qawm? Who are his Qawm? That my Qawm, Qawmi, word Qawmi, my Qawm made Quran mahjura. They tied the neck of the like a neck of the like an animal. They tied with the leg so that it can't see around. It cannot lift his head. It can't look around. If anybody looks into Quran and then he tries to raise the head and tell the people, they just slap him. Don't talk about this. I already know that. For Qawmi, word Qawmi has been used there. So what is Qawm? And collectively how it works. The main thing which affects the nafs, I'll go back to this terminology again. I'm just in the beginning giving you the overview. Collectively, it is called worldview. That how, what, in what manner the Qawm, one Qawm, a Qawm who stands for a cause, holds this world, what is its view about the world. If they believe that there is a creator, amantu billah, one of the basic meanings, one of the basic nuance, one of the basic understanding of Allah is that He is the creator, the only creator. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you ask Kuffar of Makkah, you ask them, who created these oceans, who created the earth, who created these skies? They will say, Allah. Then Allah says that when you say Allah, He has created, then how you are misguided by the other things? So the basic thing is the creator. Amantu billah wa malaikatihi, His managing forces, junud, malaika, who are managing this universe. These are the forces of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If our worldview fails at these 2 points, Allah is the creator. But if we believe that there is somebody who has some power, who has some spiritual power, who has some divine power, or who is in divine authority, that he can interfere into the womb, and he can give either a zakara or unsa, he can give a son or a daughter, he can change my fate, he can make me prime minister, he can make me president, then that is shirk. It means there is something wrong with the worldview, whether in the uluhiyat or in the rububiyyat or in any other aspect of the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that affects that. When it becomes a collective approach, collective view, collective thinking, then the words nufus and anfus are used, but then we have to differentiate, understand that why nufus has been used here and why anfus has been used here. So let us proceed there. Collective thinking, that is, for example, worldview of a people, of a Qawm, of a people constituting a polity, a Qawm living together as a Qawm. Qawm and Musa, when they arrived in the desert, what Musa alayhi salam did, he created a polity in the desert. 40 years, they were not living like gypsies. They were not living in a refugee camp. Musa alayhi salam's one of the greatest achievements is that he created a culture, collective culture. He created a civilization, developed a civilization in the desert. There were five municipal utility districts of water. But there were not there were 12 muds. There were 12 municipal utility districts. But there were no 12 mosques. He established only one tabernacle. But 12 districts, administrative districts. He established civil courts, judiciary. He established criminal courts, complete judicial system. He established the schools. He established the supply chain. He provided for the security. Right from the beginning, he appointed Lawai and Harun to face the tribes who were around or who were interfering with the peace of the people who had landed in the desert. He created a whole complete system for a calm as a polity. And this 40 years, they organized themselves, and ultimately Joshua, after Musa alayhi salam, he was able to lead that calm, lead that polity, lead those people, since they were already organized. They had been organized. They had been passed through a process that then they finally agreed to move into Canaan. But he had to work very hard. He created that system. He created, he made all the three ingredients of a polity. Quran, according to Quran, there are three important ayat. I'm not going into those details. There are three important functions of any polity, of any, say, country or any nation. Establishment of peace. Allah says that I gave you peace. He tells Kuffar, Quraysh, I gave you peace. When you were living in fear, I gave you peace. Musa alayhi salam established peace. There are battles, not one battle, but there are many battles which Lawai and Harun led to keep the people secure. They created a forward defense, and then they created a whole system of defense. If any polity, any people, any nation cannot create peace in the society, then it is not a nation. It will not survive. It will not be able to survive. And the next thing is, or the first thing is, you can place according to the priorities, justice. Bilqist. If that polity is not bilqist, it will not survive. It will break up. It will ultimately be doomed. And the third is economic welfare. If these three things are there, as long as they are there, it will stand as a calm. It will survive. But if these three things are missing, peace, justice, and economic welfare, then it cannot survive. This is Quranic injunction. This is the philosophy of the world. This is the sociology. Everywhere you find these are three basic elements. If they are missing, if they can't manage, and this is the aspect which is basically succeeding or failing when we understand why anfusahum is used in plural. Because that the nation, then that qawm fails culturally as a culture, not as an individual. Nafs may affect one character of a person. But when it affects the anfusakum collectively, it means it affects the culture. Particularly when we translate the ayat, which says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I don't change what I have given you, the ne'mat. The ne'mat which I have given you, or don't change the ne'mat. It is about the ne'mat. Unless you change what is within your anfusakum. Their word anfusa has been used. Anfusakum. Among yourselves as a culture. If you don't change your laws, If you don't regulate yourself, if you don't create discipline, if you are not a disciplined people, then Allah will not help you. Ibad lana. I'm repeating it. I've said it earlier also. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word ibad for Majusis who were fire worshippers. He used the word ibad for Romans who were pagans. And he said that my ibad lana, they destroyed my masjid, which Jews created, which Jews had established twice, first and then second. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak a word against them. He said, my ibad lana, Surah An-Nisa, ibad lana, they destroyed the masjid. The word masjid has been used twice. Discipline. Today, right now, it is not Friday. Only there were two saf in the masjid. When you enter the main door, have you seen, you must have seen, you must have observed the way the people throw the shoes at the door of the masjid. Although there are racks inside, there's a space inside. And look on Friday what they are doing. There's a space inside in the racks, but still you will find a mess. I think there should be a system. The masjid should give an order, Imam should issue an order that when the Jamaat stands up, after that, there must be somebody outside. He should collect all those shoes and throw it up. How to create discipline? On the main road, on the lane, they are driving well, according to law. But here, have you seen how they get out of the masjid, how they drive within the masjid, and how they come in the masjid? Are we ibad lana for the people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is when the anfus, selves, which constitute culture, those are affected. With reference to these words, I'll explain inshallah in detail, but when we discuss Hidaayat. So here, for example, what is the difference between nufusakum and then anfusakum? I was referring to that. Collective conduct becomes a culture. It is a culture. It is now in our culture to break the law. Now it is in our culture to tell the lies. Now it is in our culture to misbehave. If you have power, if you have money, whatever little knowledge I have, I will despise you. I will speak with you with authority. This is how we have developed our culture. Now then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that what you have collectively developed in your affairs, anfusakum, amr, then these are ayat which I have given here. Why Hidayat is not impacting? Why Hidayat Quran is available here? We are listening every day, in every salah, all the time. But still, why it is not affecting? Nafs walks through qalb and sadr. It affects qalb and sadr. Thinking process. We'll go into detail when we discuss this qalb and sadr, and then other aspects. I'm just exposing those things before you, that what is qalb, what is sadr. At the moment, I'm just concentrating on nafs. I have just given you the rundown that what are different aspects. These are not all which I mentioned. There are other aspects of nafs also. And I have cursorily mentioned that it works through shuha. It works through giving ispa. It kicks. You open an internet, you want to go to, for example, to any website, say Wikipedia, you want to go to Wikipedia. But when you, as soon as open it, there are so many other options. Waswasa. So many waswasa, it is throwing options before you. And then at one or the other, it gives you kick. Kick. That advertisement or something gives a kick that click on this. Open this before you go to Wikipedia. And once you open it, then you might go to many other places. And then the lust center will attract you, invite you again and again to open it again, open it. Just once more, Mukarrar, Mukarrar. In Urdu, they call it Mukarrar, Mukarrar. So why I'm coming back to this, why we started this discussion on self. We started discussion on self, that why the Hidayat, which is available in the Quran, which is available or around us, is not working. We simply feel that Hidayat is the grant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, that's right. Prophet was a guide, but it was not his responsibility to ensure, to give guidance, as a guidance, Hidayat, as Hidayat. He was a guide, he conveyed the message, and then he guided on the way, but there's a difference between to be a guide and the guidance. So far as the guidance is concerned, that is with Allah. He says that it is my grant, I give it. But when we analyze the ayat, we find it is not arbitrary. Wherever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ma yasha, whatever Allah likes, he doesn't like it, he doesn't say that arbitrarily. There are reasons which are mentioned there. That in spite of that, you are doing this thing, you are doing this thing, you are doing this thing. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that then he grants whomever he likes, if there is even the slightest grain which can grow into a sapling of goodness, he may give guidance. But that is different aspects. So the point was to point out two aspects. One is the personal conduct, and then the collective conduct, that is culture. Kindly differentiate that. It is the personal conduct and the collective conduct. Collective conduct is called culture, which develops a civilization. So Hidayat works at these two places, two levels. One is the personal and then the collective. But something goes wrong with the personal, and it starts with the family. With the family. Personal starts with the family, with the training, with the lab, with the schooling. Personal then all together becomes culture. And these two aspects, if they are not corrected, what happens, that we will discuss when we discuss that. If these two aspects, personal conduct, which ultimately becomes a culture collectively, if these are not corrected, what happens? And we'll discuss all this from Quran. What happens? And this works through, I'm coming now to explain a little bit about nafs as a self. Nafs as a self, when we translate it as a self. For example, Vaskur Rabbika fi nafsika. Introspect about your Rabb, your Lord. Here word Lord has been used. In yourself, as Lord. Introspect how he created me, how he developed me, how I am grown by him, how he feeds me, how he provides me, how he does agriculture for me, how he created these halal animals for me, for example. This is introspection, zikr of your Rabb, Lord. Word Lord has been used here. It doesn't say just any zikr. Vaskur Rabbika fi nafsika, in your nafs, that how my nafs has been built, what it is, how it works. Fi nafsika. Have we considered, made zikr of our Rabb in this way, that how my eyes function, how the light works, how I'm able to see, how I'm able to listen. This is introspection, remembering, recalling, retrieving And I'm thinking about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own nafs. See how your nafs is working. Fi nafsika. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using these words that silently, secretly, fearfully, consciously think about these things. These are not ordinary things. When somebody loses the eyesight, he knows understands the importance of the eyesight. Introspect. And then nafs as a person or persona. But there's a slight difference. Again, I said the person and persona. I'll define it when we go to that place. Here, as a person, as Mr. So-and-so, as a person, then here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, explained to us that I don't have any power about myself. I can't hurt myself. I can't benefit myself. I don't have any power with me, le nafsi. I don't have any power. Here, there is a difference in the meaning of this nafsika and nafsi. And then as a psyche, what is psyche? Psyche belongs to the belief system. It becomes my psychology. Psyche, nafs as a psyche. It refers to the belief system which builds personal character. If it is not ingrained in my nafs, the criterion is not one of the important features of my person where I can use criterion. For example, if an animal, say goat, is grazing, any animal is grazing, have you seen how it makes a difference, how it differentiates? It takes something which is good and it leaves something which is bad. On the trees also you have seen, while they are picking up something from the leaves from there, they leave something, but they take something which is good and they leave something which is bad. It is in the nafs. They can use the criterion, they can distinguish, they can differentiate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it in the nature. But if that is affected, and it becomes the character, that I don't differentiate between the good and the bad, and I take bad as it is good, as for example, you have heard at the end when Imam was making a speech after the Jamaat, this was the subject. If I can't differentiate that, sin becomes good for me. Lie becomes good for me. Taking bribe becomes good for me. I can't differentiate. When it becomes my character, my personal character, and then it is accepted in the family, it becomes the family character. When the families start accepting it, it becomes the character. In the beginning, we say it is the character of the elite, a group, a section, a subsection of the society, and then it spreads. Today, there are many people, Muslim societies, where corruption is rampant, is open, where all these sins are open and they are accepted as something good. They are presented as something good because we have lost the criterion. We have lost the capacity, the feature which can differentiate. But how we lost it? Starting from this, when we lost the introspection into the working of the nafs, my nafs, and then I lost the idea that I don't have any power, and I stopped fearing God. I stopped using the criterion. Then it became my character, personal character. It became my psyche. Then I tell a lie as a habitual liar. I tell a lie by impulse of my psychology. This is psyche. That becomes psyche. This becomes part of the character. This is psyche. And this is nafs, nafsal amara, which commands them. Which commands, which does not allow to speak truth. This becomes nafsal amara. And it has a different angle to discuss, but we are not discussing that at the moment. And then it becomes collective culture. And there is a psyche of the collective culture also. There's a personal psyche and there's psyche of the collective culture. They say that the psychology of people is like this. They behave like this. They react like this. They accept the sin. They welcome the sin like this. Now, what is the psyche? Same-sex marriage. It has gone into the psyche. And so many other things happening. Here, when it becomes a collective, affects collectively, then in the psyche, it has three distinct aspects. It's cognitive, it may be conative, it may be affective. These are different aspects. That is why we are not accepting Hidaayat. It has gone so deep. It has gone deep through my personal nafs as myself. It has gone deeper into my nafs as self, as psyche, and then collectively. And then when it has gone so deeper, it has gone into the cognition. It has gone into the cognition, cognitive aspects, into the affective parts. What is that? It has affected the conscious mental activities. That is why Hidaayat is not affecting us. It is not working with us. It took 13 years, more than 13 years, just to build these aspects in Makkah. The social, collective state function where the law could be implemented came later in Medina. But before that, these things were being developed, being changed in the people. That is conscious mental activities through thinking. Zikr, aql, tafakkur, tawakkul, tadabbur. Thinking, reasoning, remembering, recalling, reiterating, retrieving, introspecting, then imagining and expressing and articulating. Once you have understood, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet, peace be upon him, now kul, stand up, pronounce it, declare it, go to Safa and Marwa, unzur, announce it, tell the people that you are in danger if you don't correct yourselves here and in the hereafter. Then what is the cognitive aspect of it? Behavior dependent, this is very important. Behavior dependent on effort of mind and willpower. Even if we are getting the bombardment of Hidaayat from the Imam, making oration from the member, reading Quran, but it is not affecting our mind. We are not listening to it. While somebody is saying, reading it, doing tilawat or making any oration, right at that time our mind is agitating to somehow prove it wrong. We are not listening. And then the willpower. I don't have the willpower to change myself. These two things, it is dependent on the effort. It's not effortless. Effort of mind and willpower. If I have a mind, if I can understand, but I don't have the willpower to change. Willpower. That is why we are not changing. We are not using Hidaayat. In striving for the purpose, I'm emphasizing the words in striving for the purpose, that is cognitive measures. Cognition, what is cognition? It is intelligence. And cognitive, what is cognitive aspect? it drives how one acts on thoughts and feelings. Once you have made it a part of your psyche, then you are thinking rightly. Your thoughts, your thought process has changed, your mind has changed. Now you have a willpower. Then it is the time to act upon it. How you act upon it. And when you act upon it, then comes the next part, that is the social intelligence. This is where the science has not yet been able to create, that is the affective part of it, that we have to use that thing as a part of social, emotional intelligence, and it deals with emotions. And there are features of mind. I'm not going to those details, but I just wanted to point out that there are different aspects of nafs, and we have to understand each aspect, and then we have to understand that why Hidayat is not working on that part. We have to correct that part. Nafs as next as a living being, nafs as a breathing or driving agent, nafs as a spur, I'm just repeating, nafs as the spur kicking part of it, and then the collective thing that it has to correct the world view. With this, I stop here. I think I have just left food for thinking. You may have your own ideas. You can think yourself. You can correct it. I may be wrong, as I always say, and this is not the last word. Allah may accept it. Allah may guide me, guide us all. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.